I'm wondering, Steve, if you know, how do you get to America from Ireland? What direction do you have to travel?
East or west? You can go either way.
Shush.
Nice try.
Shush.
Nice try.
You know.
I don't know how direction works, but I'm pretty sure either way you can get.
You're
to
traveling
America.
west. Don't do that.
Stand by. Going to air.
Stand by, Phil.
5,
Stand by music.
4,
Stand by announce.
3, 2, 1.
And fade up.
Fish are friends, not food.
Make it Centauri time.
Too much iron in your blood.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
Hey, what happened?
Let's get pissed and watch boom. Hello, you got a base.
Are you saying there's something wrong with my gear?
We're going streaking!
He found me! He's doing his Superman thing.
I still only counts as one.
Why is the rum always gone?
All right, well, welcome everyone to a brand new episode of 20 Years, 4 Beers. We are a podcast dedicated to rewatching movies from at least 2 decades ago, while simultaneously enjoying a minimum of 4 modern beers. My name is Steve, and this is my big brother,
Tim.
and we are coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have just watched, recorded, and basically creamed all over Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. Go check that one out. Also watch that movie. And as usual, we sit together afterwards to discuss another film over another beer. So we refer to these as our happy hour episodes.
Hey, you guys. Happy hour is from 4 to 6.
On this happy hour, we will be discussing another indie film that none of you have seen in 2003's
Nope.
In America. In America follows a poor Irish immigrant family living in Hell's Kitchen, or in the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of New York City. They come to America with little money, no prospects, and even less opportunity to advance, but they do have each other. They move into a run-down apartment complex, and over the course of a year, they must overcome poverty, cruel summer heat, a downstairs neighbor who is more than he seems, and a tragic past that continuously comes back to haunt them. The film is directed by Jim Sheridan, written by Jim, Naomi, and Kristen Sheridan, and stars Patty Considine, Samantha Morton, Jaimin Hunsu, Sarah Bolger, and Emma Bolger.
Are you in love with her?
No. I'm in love with you. And I'm in love with your beautiful woman. And I'm in love with your kids. And I'm even in love with your unborn child. I'm even in love with your anger. I'm in love with anything that lives.
You're dying.
Our first segment, as usual, is Drinking Buddies,
Come on, not my fucking beer.
where we present the 4 beers that we had, 2 for each of us, since we watched these separately, and give our expert drinking ratings. Tim will also present the beer that we have tonight. But Tim, do you want to start with your buddies that you had?
Yes, I had Dangerous Man Coffee Stout. And with them closing
Ooh,
recently,
Yeah,
I was like,
you're just giving them your money.
it's been a long time since we've hung out, so I'll try you again. It was a 3.75 for me. It's a solid coffee stout, but it's a prominent but not overwhelming coffee. I would say I've in previous episodes loved more of a coffee flavor
Mhm.
to it. I was like, it wasn't as bad as like Coffin Dodger from Fulton. Where it was like, there's coffee in this.
Yeah,
Um,
or it didn't taste like used coffee. We've had a couple that was
it's like
this is just nah.
it's a bit after the
Yeah.
fact. No, it was solid. And then I had Indeed Brewing their Modern Age Session IPA in an IPA pack I got. Again, 3.75. I would say it's hard to mess up a session. IPA.
Sure, says the two guys who have never brewed a beer in their life.
I
I
mean,
agree.
It's like
Although
a light IPA.
yeah, how many times I oftentimes see session IPA and I'm like, I'm hesitant to buy the thing.
It's basically you're getting low ABV.
Yeah,
and the flavor is close enough to call it like an IPA, in my view. But no, it was actually tasty. I liked it. 3.75.
Nice.
And then we'll talk about the beer that we have tonight. What'd you have? What'd you have?
Smooth transition, Tim. All right, so
hey man, what do you have? Hey,
what? So we've mentioned it before, and I tried looking back, but I don't think we've actually had it recently. I ended up having the Fulton Brewing Company's their new Imperial IPA.
we have not had that.
We haven't had it, and just
At least in the episode. No.
yeah, we've drank it
Yeah.
for sure. Oh yeah, I've definitely bought it. I really am coming. I like it a lot, and I'm really coming around more and more on how good it actually is.
Mhm.
We're not talking about their old Insurrection.
God.
Yeah, I know, right? Or even Surly's Abrasive or any of that kind of stuff. But it is a solid entry to the double IPA.
Yep.
I had 4.25 out of 5. It's great to see them embrace the IPA lately, which has been fun. I hope it's coming to
Yeah, keep it going.
well, I hope it's resulting in sales
True.
as opposed to their THC and seltzers and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Anyway, and then I had a cider because why the hell not?
Right.
We've had a few in our time. I ended up with Sociable Cider Works, their Freewheeler
Yeah.
cider. We
Yeah,
have
we haven't
not
had them.
covered that.
No.
I mean, I have 3.75 out of 5. I actually used to really hate Sociable Cider Works.
Right.
They've come around in the last 4 or 5 years or whatever. I really thought they were actually kind of bad.
Yep.
But Freewheeler, it's like, yeah, that's good. It's their flagship cider or side, as my notes say. And yeah, I mean, it's not number 12 cidery. It's not the one up in
Wild State.
Wild State. It's not the one in the Milk and Honey.
Yep.
Like, it's not those.
No.
But Sociables come around, and so like it's good to see them doing well. So
My only quibble with Sociable is that years ago they released a habanero cucumber.
yeah, it was
like you MFers just brewed this and decided, well, we got to make money or just dump it down the
cider.
sink, and
Yeah.
it was like unpalatable.
cider
it was
is
so
just
disgusting.
weak in terms of holding flavor anyway.
Yeah.
Like
It was
you wouldn't have tasted any cider in that.
No, it was unbelievably bad. But tonight we are now having Drastic Measures out of Wadena, Minnesota. They're West Coast IPA. And I'm wondering, Steve, if you know, how do you get to America from Ireland? What direction do you have to travel?
East or west, you can go either way.
Shush.
Nice try.
Shush.
Nice try.
You know.
I don't know how direction works, but I'm pretty sure either way you can get.
You're
to
traveling
America.
west. Don't do that.
Typically, yes,
Yes.
you would go west.
Did that go the way you thought it was going to go? Nope.
It just actually was the beer that I saw. I'm like, I want to
Yeah,
try that.
nice
but
try.
hey,
Yeah.
it's our theme beer.
Sure.
Jerk.
Also brewed in America, dick.
I know. Actually, I was like, do I buy like
You
an
could have bought
American?
any fucking beer.
I know. I was like,
in the
American
store,
IPA,
like, you're good.
American
You're
lager, whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
no. I was
This is
like,
brewed
not
in
doing that.
America.
I want this. I'm liking this actually.
Yeah, it's a good solid
very nice.
West
It's like a
Coast.
4.
It's a
out
good
of 5 for me.
Westie. Yeah, it's
a good
four.
Westie.
It's a good
Yeah,
one. Yep.
It's good.
Our next segment then is the social network.
Although it is for me having like slight hint of like the Shirley beer, like the
Is that because you didn't wash your glass?
I
out?
did, but it still has a hint of like maple and vanilla. So maybe that's why it's even better.
Sure. Our next segment then is the social network,
If you guys were the inventors of Facebook, you'd have invented Facebook.
where we take a look back at the critical and fan reception from 20 years ago. As usual, Tim is nice enough to research these. So, Tim, please take it away.
The IMDb rating is 7.7 out of 10, which
It's good.
very high, actually higher than Master Commander.
Yeah, which is okay.
I mean, I guess you can see like
and I
the-
like this movie. I'm just saying, yeah, that's
Yep.
come on.
Claudia Puig of USA Today said, "In America is a classic story of losing and finding faith, told with heart, humor, and emotional heft." Peter Bradshaw of Guardian said, "Jim Sheridan's sentimental heartwarmer of a story about an immigrant Irish family in modern New York is frankly manipulative and contrived." Yikes.
Where was he from?
Guardian.
Guardian. Sure.
And then Roger Ebert. Care to guess?
I'd say 4 or 3
4.
point. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean it's got to be high.
4 out of 4.
Yep.
Said, think about what it takes to leave home, family, and even language to try for a better life in another country. In America is not unsentimental about its new arrivals, for the movie has a warm heart and frankly wants to move us, but it is perceptive about the countless ways in which it is hard to be poor and a stranger in a new land. Academy Awards that year was up for 3 nominations for Best Actress for Samantha Morton, Best Supporting Actor, Jimon Hunsu, and Best Original Screenplay, as you mentioned, by Jim, Naomi, and Kirsten Sheridan. Winning, none of them.
Rough year considering we've already talked about Lord of the Rings had 11.
Yeah.
Master Commander had 10. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah,
rough
3
year.
and none.
Yeah. All right. Well, with the beers and reviews out of the way, that brings us to Spotlight,
They knew, and they let it happen.
our reactions segment, where we highlight and discuss our top takeaways of any kind from rewatching the film. I'm gonna venture a guess you haven't seen this since the first time.
Probably since the theater when I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you start us off, and we'll see where we go with this one.
So I mentioned before in the Lost in Translation podcast, but
Yep.
I saw this in Milwaukee when I was living there. It came out. I was living a block away from an independent theater. And it was like, all my focus was like, hey, that early fall or like late fall, early winter was just all about the cinema.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
I remember being really moved by it.
Mhm.
And that was before I had kids. So then I must say, when this week was coming up and I was like, hey, Ellen, I got to watch this movie. And it's about an immigrant family coming to terms with being in America and grappling over the death of their son. She goes, hard pass.
Okay, good. I was like, you did not.
I
watch this
always
with
would be
your
like, hey,
wife.
you want to watch this with me? And she's like, hard pass. No.
Okay, good.
So yeah, so I offer that because I watched it last night and I have not seen it in 20 years. And all I gotta say is you center a movie around a family grappling with and grieving the loss of a young child. No surprise, moved, cried multiple times, thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's so good.
I have a minor quibble I'll offer later.
Sure, that's fine.
But it
still.
is just a beautiful and just wondrous film.
Yeah.
And it was so good to see it again.
Yes.
And yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's perfect. Like Master
No.
Commander, I just said it's a damn near perfect movie or whatever.
No, and I don't
No,
expect
but-
that into some of this, but
Exactly.
it is it was so good to watch it again.
Yeah.
I knew the high points,
Mhm.
but overall the details, it was like watching it for the first time. And
Mhm.
man, used many a Kleenex for just it was so good. So good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, for me, first off, I believe we've talked about this before. I just love a well put together indie film that knows exactly the story it wants to tell, leaves no fat on the bone. Like it's nothing. It is exactly what you want. It's a simple story, yet has pretty complicated layers hiding just under the surface. Features top to bottom amazing performances. I love a movie like this. Like these independent films that just say, like you talked about with Master Commander, how does this get greenlit, right? On that scale.
Yeah.
And in America, the only reason this gets greenlit is because Jim Sheridan. But like, I'm sure it was on a skeleton budget, and they just kind of did what they could. I know they wanted to base it. They wanted to have it in the early 80s because that's when this occurred in their life, in Jim's life. But they couldn't afford all what would it take to age it back. So basically, it takes place in the late 90s or early 2000s or like sort of that time frame.
But it feels like
But it still feels like it because at times you're like, when is this happening?
Yeah,
And they're at
E.T.?
ET. But funny enough, it was re-released in 2002 when this movie was being made, so they could keep that storyline in.
Right.
It was written in, and they couldn't afford to keep it in the 80s. And then ET was released on their 20-year anniversary, so this
that's
family could just go to ET, and it was 20 years on,
That's
so they
good.
could keep that in the storyline. It was actually sort of fortuitous.
That is
But I
pretty
love
good.
that indie film like just says we had this Whale Rider, we had this you mentioned to a certain extent Lost in Translation you like better than I do.
Yeah.
But tell me a simple story. Don't like you're an indie film. Don't overdo it. And this is exactly that. Even though it takes place over the course of a year, it's still grounded in this one area. They don't ever leave this sort of like couple blocks of Hell's Kitchen. And, oh, I love a movie like this.
So I mentioned it before in one of the reviews by Peter Bradshaw, where he talked about like the movie's manipulative. And I actually think, I think the term manipulative is a lazy criticism. In as much as
that's Peter Bradshaw for you.
Thanks, Pete. But I think all art is inherently
it's supposed to be
trying to elicit a reaction from the beholder, because well and good that you are so inspired, and I'm not an artist in many ways, like, but you're trying to actually have some reaction, I would imagine, in whoever's going to see the audience. So inherently, it's going to be manipulative.
Yeah.
You have to manipulate something. And so I actually just think more about how heavy-handed is that effort in manipulation. I think we've seen many movies where like, yikes, it is heavy-handed as far as like trying to put its thumb on the scale, these kind of things. What I really like about this movie is that it's very subtle in how hard it works to get you to feel something.
Yeah.
That is not like broad strokes or like Mr. River, big issue ahead.
Yep.
Like, we're going to use score to just like, boom, bombast you. It uses subtlety and the empathy you're going to build for these characters that when things come out, like when the dad is doing like the fee, fi, fo, fum.
Johnny. Yeah. Yep.
And he's like, I smell that. And he's like, oh, I was thinking I was looking for my son.
Yeah, because he says English woman for
the
4
girls,
or 5 times.
The
or whatever,
girls,
and he
yes,
says
and the
English
mom.
man the first time, and that,
And it triggers him thinking I was looking for my son who had died. Like, you don't see it coming, and yet you can see it coming in many ways where it feels like, oh my God, it would be so like you have these muscles that you build for this life you built, and one is gone. Or like when they're coming into America and like he's just like, oh, we had 3 kids. Oh, sorry, we lost one.
Sure.
Like that. What I think it's a disservice to a movie like this or others where you say it's manipulative, and it's like no. It is trying to get you to feel this way. Because why would I show up for a movie for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's like, well, that was a waste of my time.
Right.
Like suspense, comedy, whatever the genre is, you should be manipulated.
Yeah.
Then what am I doing here?
Yeah. We crapped on ourselves in the best possible way on Oppenheimer this year. It is manipulative.
Yes.
By design,
Yes.
it is designed to get you from walking in the theater to what the best movies get you in the end, to the exact message the filmmakers wanted you to do. It's no different than walking into an art gallery and looking at a Monet and feeling something like, I'm not going to be I am manipulated. Like that
exactly.
Yes.
I read that and was like, come on, that's lazy.
It is.
That's just really lazy.
Yeah,
criticism.
Bradshaw was in a bad mood that day, and then like, well, this is just stupid.
Yeah.
Make me feel something.
Anyway,
Bradshaw.
I decided to come.
I totally,
It's actually, I think, really well done where the points that are like gut punch are not really drawn out. It just hits you.
Oh, it is out of nowhere.
Yes.
They do not give you any warning, especially at the end. We'll get to that in a little bit.
Yep.
They do not give you any warning when the emotion hits. And that is absolutely a testament to the Sheridans who wrote this. Yep. And obviously this is a personal story for them because it happened in Jim Sheridan's past.
Yeah.
Which I assume you looked at that, or
his brother died.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Frankie.
Yes.
And so writing that around that with his wife and daughter, I think that's, or maybe that's
it's 2 daughters.
Sisters. Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. His 2 daughters wrote it with him.
Excuse me. And so like to write that with them and be able to do that, you can tell it's very personal.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like it's, to me, there's a difference between like sentimental and manipulative. Where I'm like,
sentimental hogwash.
I get a lot of credit for like, or like leeway for, you're going to tell a very personal story, clearly personal.
Yeah.
And I have a quibble about like how, anyway, I'll come to that.
We'll get there. Yeah.
But it's like, who am I to judge this
right.
and say like, if your freaking brother died at 10 years old, that's what he was.
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
10.
Yep.
Who am I to say like, I felt you pulled on our heartstrings too much. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like, write your story.
Yeah. Christy in this is the older daughter. That's him. Like, that's that character. But yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I'm like, I cannot judge you and what you went through, and you wrote this, created this, and I'm going to sit there as a movie critic and be like, no, it's just little too heavy-handed for me.
felt a bit forced.
Well, then, yeah, Peter Bradshaw, you have no empathy. So while I find this, while I find this story interesting overall, and was never bored, I'm not like in the first hour, you're just kind of like, or the first half hour, or whatever. The moment that Mateo, Djimon Hounsou, begins to interact with the girls on Halloween, where he actually comes out and actually we get to experience in him as a character. Yes. That moment is when the heart of this movie really starts to beat for me. We finally realize that he is not a crazy shut-in, that we sort of like, it's hard because we know he's not, you've seen it before, but on initial watching, you're like, what's the man who screams? What is he? What, like, like, who is he? You know? He's a tortured soul who is literally dying and in need of a connection, and he randomly finds it with these girls. Like, that is not to say that I don't think Johnny or Patty Constantine and Samantha Morton don't do a good job, and I'm not embracing these characters. And for you and I think because we empathize with probably the men in these stories, we're following along with him, and he's like lifeless, and like Constantine does such a good job of having like no emotion throughout the first like half of this movie. But then when Hounsou comes on and Mateo, there's just this new level of just emotion that pops in that you can just feel it on screen. Yeah. Like, Hounsou is so freaking good in this, but we'll get back to that in a second. But that I love, like when Mateo pops in and they have this scene, and you kind of think like, it reminded me of, I can't even remember it. What's the, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, right?
Yes.
Right, with Max von Sydow in The Neighbor or whatever.
Yes.
It's just like, this is over the top. And like everything that was, speaking of movies that are heavy-handed and...
that might be manipulative.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. And you're like, but this balances it out. And he steps out and he actually answers the door with these two girls. And that, when he opens that door, to me, is such this dynamic shift in the movie that I just feel... And Hounsou just exudes this like emotion every time he's on the screen. He's so good in this movie.
And what's amazing about his performance is in that scene, you know, you've heard him screaming before, and you know, the environment that these girls are growing up in there is very volatile and scary. And he opens the door, invites them in, and talking through like, a trick or treat, and you don't get but he opens the fridge
seriously
and gets a quick glimpse of like medicines in there. But what is and I was amazed by his performance, where he hears from the girls the detail that they had a younger brother who died, and he was at 2, and then a couple years later he died from
5.
And he's instantly starts crying. And you're like, sorry.
Right, the thought of it, right? Yeah.
But he's so good, like, like connecting with the loss of that, and then tries to be like, well, let's get you a treat. Like, okay, like he has that reaction to, as anybody would, like the loss, but then, hey, here's my money. It's like $2 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, I don't know that I've seen him before this, where it was like, I mean, I've seen him, but like us.
Well, we saw him in Gladiator.
Yes, true. We saw him in Gladiator. But like that type of, he just a couple tears, and then throughout the rest of it, he's so good. But
he just has this range of emotion.
yeah,
Because he'll go from that where he just starts crying because this emotional realization that Frankie is dead, and he just feels it, and he starts crying, and he realizes with these girls, and they're watching him, and they're super empathetic, and the younger one like puts her hands on him, and like they're comforting him, and then he's fine, and not fine, but then he moves on with it, and then later when he's in with Johnny Patty Considine, and he's like, I love you. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with your wife. I'm in love with your kids. I'm in love with anything that is alive.
yes.
You suddenly are like, oh yeah,
Like, hold up.
this totally makes sense now.
Yes.
But then he just, he follows this range of emotions. He is so good in this movie. Like, and actually, this is by far his best performance. Like, he was just like, oh my God.
yes. Yeah.
I don't know how, I mean, we talked about it with Watanabe. This is going to be hard at the end of the year, by the way.
I agree.
Because Hunsu was up. Watanabe was up. I mean, definitely, neither of us are going to pick Tim Robbins, although we both... Tim Robbins is good in Mystic River.
He is.
But I do not think either of us will pick Best Supporting Actor for Tim Robbins.
No.
But, like, Hunsu, like, Watanabe was outstanding in his. Like, the grandfather in Whale Rider.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. So speaking of great performances, Samantha Morton
Yeah.
is, to me, everything works in this movie, but she is, to me, the standout. Where what I appreciate, and I can actually see why she was nominated.
Totally. I can totally see why she was nominated. Absolutely. Yep.
Because, the story is, I think because it is written by Jim and his daughters, it's going to push hard into like the father trying to do what he can for his kids, coming to America, grappling with like his dream job, it's not working or whatever it is. But you think about the fact of Samantha Morton's character, she was a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. A throwaway line, by the way. Just early on. Couldn't find a job as a teacher. That's it.
She was a teacher before. They moved to America, and now she's a waitress in this place. And
heaven.
In heaven. Exactly. Somewhat fine.
That's fine.
Where he is trying to work for his dream, and she's making like the foundational money.
Yeah.
And like when he has his moment of thinking, I was thinking of Frankie, and she's like, quickly, like, just play for the kids.
Yes.
Like, you're an actor. Play for the kids. Like, can you not be...
How can you not?
Something for that. But for me, and I get why Charlize Theron won for her performance in Monster. Totally. Like, not to in any way discredit. But it sure does feel like Morton, in many ways, was deserving of the honor.
Sure.
When she's having to manage the terror of possibly losing, sorry,
take your time.
The new baby,
yeah,
it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah,
absolutely heartbreaking. Like, if she won't survive, don't wake me up.
Yeah. If the baby doesn't live, don't wake me up. Don't. Yep.
Like, she's just fearless in this role. Like, she's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible.
Well, because I do agree, because I think we talked about with Keisha Castle Hughes is outstanding in Whale Rider,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And the other two nominees were Diane Keaton and Naomi Watts, which were kind of fine.
And 21 Grams is great. Like,
and Naomi Watts is
really good.
Yeah, but okay.
Yes.
No, I do agree, because I think Morton does, and we talked about her with Minority Report. She does so much.
So good.
Without. She really does a lot without speaking.
Yes. She is very good.
Very emotive and very, like, really does a good job of that. Some actors do better with, like, actually out, like, acting and that kind of stuff, but she really feels it.
Yeah.
And she's got that, and I think it's because she is kind of, she's very pretty, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
She's very different looking.
Yep.
And in this movie, she's got the short hair, and, like, it's just not,
which you'd think a year into it, her hair would have grown, but
Maybe she,
minor. Maybe she liked to keep it short. But
I'm sorry, they didn't have haircuts in the early 2000s.
I'm just saying.
Jesus.
Like, it definitely felt like okay, they're like filming it, but again,
Sure, yeah.
She's coming off
somebody
my-
gets a haircut, Tim. Both of us are bald and just cut our own hair, but that's fine.
but I think
Don't you
know,
dare tell a woman what to do with her body. Tim.
True, absolutely.
But no, I
Yep.
agree. I think playing off of yours, I didn't have much on Morton, not to say that she wasn't good. For me, Hunsu is what I remember this movie for.
Yeah.
Like I remember this movie for him. That doesn't mean that Morton or Constantine or the two girls, which I'll talk about next,
Yeah.
aren't good. She's outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, just that pure emotion of just get me through, like, let's get us through the next day emotionally.
Yeah.
Whereas Johnny or Patty, he's just like, let's get us through the next day functionally. Let's I'm gonna go audition. I'm gonna go do this. And I'm like, I'm the man of this. And she's
I'll get
like
the
the
air
emotional
conditioner.
side of this. Right. Yeah. F this, man. I'm just gonna go find an air conditioner and buy it.
Yes.
Like that sort of thing. Such a great, from a screenplay standpoint too, just such a great understanding of the difference between the man and the woman. Oh man, there's so many layers to this movie.
Yep.
The girls, this might be the best. Like, we've had some child actors out there. I mean, Keisha Castle Hughes is obviously the best quote unquote child actor we've had.
Yeah.
Right. But these two girls, who are sisters, obviously, Sarah and Emma Bolger, they're so legitimately great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in particular, Sarah as Christy, like
the older. Yes.
the older of the two. Yeah, that sort of that young girl who is forced to essentially raise her sister and watch out for her while her parents go through this trauma of losing a child.
Yeah.
And also, which is so brilliant, oh, God damn it, brilliant about the end, that she's saying, like, I lost a brother. Like,
Yep.
it's almost like she hasn't had this chance to grieve. Well, like, she's sitting there just trying to raise her sister. Meanwhile, her parents get to do this. They get to go through this whole thing.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Christy's just sitting here like, I haven't had a chance to grieve my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Sarah Bolger is outstanding in this as Christy. But both of the girls, all performances in this are good. Like, everybody, there's not a bad performance in this movie. But those two girls, we've talked about this before. A lot of times, movies with child actors, sometimes you just got to hope for the best.
Yep.
And just if they're fine enough, we're good.
Yep.
And I can't think off the top of my head the ones we've had in the past, but I know we've talked about it and be like, oh my God, these are great. But arguably, this is some of the best. And they're sisters, and even Emma Bolger, who, by all accounts, has not really been in anything else
She's
at
done
all.
nothing. Yes.
She just like was there, and they did this.
Yep.
Fun side fact, by the way, I was reading that the two girls yelled action and cut for every scene.
Really?
And Sheridan, because Sheridan wanted them to feel like, I'm ready and I'm done. Like,
Sure.
I'm ready to go, action.
Yeah.
And if these little girls were in a place where they were uncomfortable or whatever, and their emotional,
Sure.
their emotional scenes, they were done, they would yell cut. So even in scenes they weren't in off screen, they would be the ones yelling action and cut, just to get them
great.
used to the filming or whatever. So yeah, the two girls in this, but in particular, Sarah Bolger as Christy, holy cow. I just, yeah, the more this time around, I really connected with her probably more than anyone else, as that sort of like,
Sure.
I'm here too. Like, hello, right? She's, you know what I mean? Everyone's focused on the youngest daughter. Everyone's, you know what I mean? The new baby or whatever. And she's like, like, I'm here too.
Yeah,
I'm
my
literally doing this family.
The younger daughter
Mhm.
is so good at like because clearly she must have been young enough where the loss was impactful, but not, it was more like, oh, like we had a brother and he died.
I think she's younger. I think she would have been younger than
she would have been like,
Frankie.
yeah, I think it was like the
She was probably
oldest
3 or 4
Frank- yeah.
when Frankie died, and yeah,
And so it wouldn't have been like a comprehensible thing type for her,
Right.
like thing for her. And so she's still in this innocent, like, what's this world about? And I'm like fascinated by the world. And it's interesting and creative and interesting. Like, and
you know
yes,
what? You know what I thought of was Signs.
yeah,
That's what it was.
I agree.
The child actress.
yes,
The older brother and the younger girl of just like she has this different reaction. Sorry.
yeah. But the
Yeah.
older daughter
Yeah.
is so good.
Yeah.
I agree. Where she is grappling with the new world. And what's fascinating about this that I think is that sentimental piece where, you know, Frankie told me I would have 3 wishes. You know, like the voiceover.
The wishes piece.
Yeah.
Is such a magical fairy tale side of this that is so well done.
Because a movie like
Ugh.
this could be too sad, despite the fact that I'm still like feeling it as well as crying last night. If it didn't have that type of perspective,
Yeah.
like it would be so hard to watch.
Yeah.
If it was really like your kid died,
Yeah.
awful. Whereas having her have these moments where Frankie, who died, would tell her, you have some impact on the world,
Mhm.
but you only have 3 wishes.
Yeah.
It adds an element of fantasy to it.
Yeah.
Where it elevates it, where it isn't just like it's a drama or it's interesting. And so when she has to tap into that and she feels like she's carrying the outcome of the family, to then have it at the end feel like she's like blowing up when she does actually voice her frustration of like, yeah,
I've been carrying this family
Yes.
for the last
for a
Yep.
year. It doesn't feel forced, or it doesn't feel
No,
like
you've earned it for sure.
what?
You've earned
Like
it.
it's
Yep.
so earned in terms
Yep.
of that. And so I think the trouble of movies like this, I feel like, could be too like nostalgia and memory could like make things too either like tainted or wonderful, or like it could be something where you feel like it's too forced. I liked that they add that in that the wishes piece.
Yes.
We're like right off the bat, we're going to
Yeah.
add in like an element of this isn't just a typical type of story.
Right.
And it works with when Mateo,
Hmm.
to bring it back to him, walks out of the apartment and feels like he can sense the spirit of something.
Yeah. Yeah. You can.
You've already
see it.
introduced
Yep.
like a fantastical element where it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Like he's sensing spirits?
Right.
Like, come on. You're along for the ride.
Yep.
It's very arty
Yep.
cinema, but it doesn't feel like it's
Come on.
like, what the hell is this?
Right.
Like, so I agree. Like, I liked that element where it was the story and the effort to bring this together was earned because it introduced early some element of this is just slightly different.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
How many more points do you have?
I got one more.
Okay. Is it your quibble?
It's my quibble.
So we'll get to your quibble. Because I was going to have you go first, but I just want to mention before I get to my final point is every time I watch this movie, and admittedly it's only a few times, but every time I do it, I always skip over, for the most part, the carnival scene where Johnny
God.
just continually starts to gamble away their money
The pride.
for the ET doll.
Yes.
Like, it is not in a bad way. It is a heart-wrenching scene
Yes.
that you assume is going to go wrong for them, but even it is so well shot and so well done that I have to I literally like skip ahead until I see people cheering and I hit enter. I'm like, done.
Yeah.
Like, I have to get through that. That scene is so well done that I cannot physically handle it anymore.
Yep.
Which is weird considering my next point, it was about crying for the better part of 20 minutes. But like, I was like, it is so uncomfortable that I'm like, I can't do this. We have to move on. Like, oh God, that gambling scene is so, but my point is, it's so well done. Like,
So good.
all he wants to do in that moment is give his daughter a damn ET doll
Yep.
so she can be okay with what's going on and provide that. And he could have just bought the thing
Yep.
for what they claim to be $30 for that doll. Anyone who knows Carnival stuffed animals knows that thing is 50 cents. It's 50 cents if at all. But anyway, I guess there's my quibble. But I love that scene so much that I have to skip it. I'm like, can't handle it.
But that's what I love about Samantha Morton, honestly. That scene where she is like in the trenches with him, even though she could is thinking you are going to destroy
You're
all
gonna ruin
this.
us. Yeah, we're gonna get evicted.
Financially,
Yep.
we're going to be destroyed. But knowing what it could mean for their daughter and
for him to be able to do
slight
that.
glimmer of
Yes.
you can do this for us.
Yeah.
Yes. I
Maybe
agree.
this will be the thing that gets you out of your
right.
depression or whatever.
And that's
Yep.
it's not stated, but it's under just the story where
Yep.
she's like, maybe this will get you out of your funk.
Yep.
Of feeling yeah.
All right, Tim. We've been
Okay.
nothing but positive about our
Gushing
movies
with it.
tonight.
Okay.
So what do you got?
So it may very well have been real for the story where they moved there, they met this guy, Mateo, same building. The only quibble I have is he just happens to be some type of wealthy individual
Mhm.
who's dying of must be AIDS.
It is. Yeah,
It's got to be.
Yeah,
Even the
it's
timeline,
They don't say
80s,
it,
90s,
even though
yeah,
in
it's
the late 90s, yeah, yep.
it's clearly
Yep.
AIDS. And early in the story, to try and buy a adapter plug, they're recycling 5 glass bottles to get 25 cents to buy that plug.
Mhm.
The birth, the hospital bill, the complications of this baby to come, they're Johnny's squabbling or scrambling over 25 cents. There's a bill coming of $30,000 for this immigrant family. And it just is magically erased by Mateo, where I don't mind it. I don't honestly mind it because it doesn't ruin the experience, but it's just my really I don't know that I had to have that in the movie. It could have just been I don't know how, but that's my only quibble of it didn't feel authentic to me. I can take the fantastical elements of wishes,
Right.
or these other things, but or the spirit thing, but somehow the real world thing of really this guy that you randomly befriended says, okay, I'm going to pay your entire hospital bill because I'm happy, wealthy. He could have been a struggling artist and it wouldn't have made any difference. So I just felt it's the only quibble I have where, and sure, because I know they come from probably more nationalized medicine. So coming to America is you have a baby, you go to the hospital, no big deal. But the financial aspect of it in the hospital, I could have done completely without. Because it didn't, and it's no fault of Mateo, or it's just I could have done without it. Just write off that whole, not to write off, but don't add in this element of this weird tension that magically gets erased by a happenstance neighbor.
Yeah.
So
I didn't mind it definitely doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form.
it doesn't ruin my visceral experience of it.
Yeah,
it's just I don't think it adds or takes away. It's stop.
Well, I agree with it could have been just removed from the storyline, and we know, or we get we kind of get the inkling that Mateo has money because even she says you were rich or that kind of stuff.
Yes,
he's living in very modest means and doesn't have much, So you would assume he's got some money out there.
Yeah,
and maybe they just get that money after the fact instead of paying off the medical bill or whatever. Yeah, but to me, I kind of feel like if Mateo doesn't give that to the girls, it almost diminishes his Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. It almost is like, well, why is Mateo even in this story then? Like from an
Right.
emotional standpoint?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, I don't know. I just,
But the girls don't know that.
yeah.
That's our struggle with, like, his gift to them is completely unknown. It just happened, which is kind of like a parental type of like,
Sure.
hey, hide these things that are difficult.
Yeah.
But I just think like it's just like it didn't land for me.
Sure. But
Without
if
the-
that's the worst thing,
I agree.
exactly. Like, yeah.
I agree. Like
Yep.
I'll take everything else, but that, I could take or leave it.
Yeah.
Actually, leave it. But
Well, but even then, but having it in doesn't ruin it, and taking it out doesn't ruin it. So it's like, okay, you're fine.
I was like, really?
But you also see it coming. Those last 15 minutes, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Oh,
be fine.
Your $5,000 check bounced.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're up to like 6 times that amount. Oh,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yep.
Oh, your bill's been paid. Really? Okay.
Well, yeah, I have one more thing. It's just that the 1-2 punch of Mateo's, spoiler alert, death scene followed almost immediately by the goodbye scene on the porch or the patio or whatever it is. It is, to me, it was akin to Life is a House. It's the closest thing I've had
Yeah.
in our rewatching of things that just at the end of a movie comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We knew Mateo was dying. That was.
Oh, yeah.
But the way it happens, the way it's done, and he speaks that sort of whatever he speaks, and then
Yes.
the baby comes to life, or
Yes.
the new daughter, or not comes to life, but just
Yeah, in the
Gets
NICU.
life
in
sort
the
of-
NICU, yep.
yeah, in the NICU, and you're like, oh my god, like that's amazing. And then like less than 5 minutes later or whatever, they're out on this the fire escape, and they're
Yeah.
talking, and that goodbye scene. Boy, that is well, I think you talked about the wishes. What's so great about that storyline is by then you've kind of forgotten,
Yep. Absolutely.
like you're like it, because it's not so central to because you kind of excuse it as a girl's, like a child's thing. You know what I mean?
Can you see him? No.
You don't see him waving, do you? He's waving goodbye. Just like he promised.
Oh yeah! Bye, Mateo! Bye! Bye!
Bye, Mateo.
Bye!
Bye, Mateo.
Bye, Mateo! Look after Frankie! Look after
Bye,
Frankie!
Mateo.
Look after Frankie!
Look after.
And then I asked for my third wish. Say goodbye to Frankie, Dad.
What?
Say goodbye to Frankie.
But yeah, that 1-2 punch at the end, every time it is just complete and total. I lose it every time. And she just deadpan looks at him as like, you gotta say goodbye to Frank. Damn it.
Right?
Damn it, Tim. You gotta say goodbye to Frankie.
Yep.
And he just turns to her. Patty is so good in this, where he is out there thinking, we're gonna do this. We're gonna wave goodbye to Mateo because
Yep.
the younger girl doesn't, he didn't
Yep.
say goodbye. And
Yep.
he's doing
Promise.
this.
We can keep the promise
And
for her. Yes.
Freaking Christy, or the older daughter, recognizes at a moment to use that last wish, quote unquote, to make her dad understand, and he gives her that look. Blam. Every time.
When the
Every
movie,
time. It's not even her saying it's my brother and that kind of stuff. That look on his face is just like, dude,
because she
where do
knows.
you get that?
I agree, and she knows it's for him.
Right,
Like,
yeah. She's
I'm
giving
using
that
my
wish
last
of-
wish
yep.
for him. Like,
Well, all of her wishes have basically been for her dad, weren't they? Like,
I mean, yeah, the family to get into America
right.
across the
With
border,
the
and
family,
then yeah,
right,
like to
and then
help.
Definitely
Yes,
the second one
True,
was.
but
and
like,
with-
well, there was some benefit to the family at large.
right.
You could argue, but that final wish is like for him to be like, please let him go.
Yes.
Not let him go, but just
Say goodbye.
say goodbye.
Yes. Oh, heart-wrenching.
When it happened, I actually said, "God damn it!" I was like here on this couch, and it was like
you're right.
sobbing.
I kind of
Just
did
like,
the same thing only because
"Oh."
I was like, the few times I've
forgot.
seen this movie, I cry I'm always like, I cry every time. I'm like, oh, you're kind of about 3/4 of the way through. You're like, why do I cry in this movie?
Why did I
every
get?
time?
Oh,
What did I do? Like,
Because I remember
it's like
seeing
the dog eating crap. Oh, this is really good.
So good,
Oh,
yeah.
God, I'm going to throw
Oh,
it back
yeah.
up. Like,
I-
every time.
Because I remember seeing it in the theater and sobbing in the theater and be like,
Yeah.
it's a family about the death of a baby. I'm
Right.
sure I'm going to be sad now. And then that final scene is just like a freaking sucker punch.
But not in like, it is so, what's so weird to me is like, not in a Mystic River early part of that movie with the daughter scene, like
Yes.
that heavy handed. It is an earned,
Yeah.
emotional.
Yes.
We talked about it with Life as a House. I know we did, where you're
Oh,
like,
yes.
that's the kind of sort of like, I don't know what it's called. That sort of like release type of cry where
Yep.
you're like, oh, this
Oh, yeah.
feels right.
Yep.
It is earned. This and that is such a testament to the story. And I did not research how much of this was accurate versus whatever. But if they went through any version of this,
Right.
good Lord.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, dude.
Yep.
Any others?
No, that's, yeah.
We're good. Yeah, we're about two grown men crying together about somebody else's past.
Take a deep breath.
So, with our reactions out of the way, that leads us to our next segment that we call The Verdict.
I'm going up there, I'm going to try it, I'm going to let the jury decide.
It's pretty much exactly how it sounds. Each of us takes a minute to put a cap on our reviews, give a rating, and whether or not the film holds up 2 decades later. You went first last time, so I'll go. Pretty basic one here. In America is personal storytelling at its finest. An established writer-director decides to tell a story from his past and handles it in such a way that we all can relate in one way or another. The film features some incredible performances from the entire cast, but in particular from Morton and Jaimin Hunsu, who he particular exudes all types of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
The film is poetic, it's enchanting, and everything you would want in a movie of this genre. I have 4.5 out of 5. See it and enjoy.
Nice. Overall, an incredibly moving and creative entry into the struggling immigrant genre, looking at you, gangs in New York.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
In America, will get you in all the feels as you get gut punched without seeing it coming. But like you mentioned, it's incredibly earned.
Yeah.
A beautiful and searing performance for me from Samantha Morton, coupled with 2 all-time great child performances from real-life sisters in their first roles, keep the film from devolving into cloying sadness and grief when it balances lightness and fantasy. 4 out of 5 for me. Like you mentioned, it's just it's kind of rare to see a movie so vulnerable in what they try and accomplish. So yeah, I remember seeing it and thinking, it'd be fine. Dear God, get the Kleenex ready.
All right, well, we come now to our final segment, which is Quiz Show.
The exciting quiz program, 21.
Where we search for trivia surrounding our subject film and try to stump the other. I mean, I do have 2. I kind of didn't really go too far into this, but
No.
do you have any?
I have a couple.
A couple? Why don't you go first?
So Samantha Morton, playing the mother, had a breakout role and received her first Oscar nomination in what 1999 Woody Allen film?
Oh, man. I know this one.
With Sean Penn.
Yeah, Sweet and Lowdown.
There you
Right?
go.
Yeah, all right. There we go.
Nice.
It's like, I know this one.
Like,
I don't like Woody Allen at all, but there we are.
Me either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so between 1989 and 1997, writer-director Jim Sheridan directed 3 films starring the all-time great Daniel Day-Lewis. Can you name those 3 films?
Only in it because I know I can think of the third one possibly. The trivia I had was that My Left Foot.
Yep.
In the Name of the Father.
Yep.
And The Boxer.
Yes. Yep.
And I have seen none of them.
Oh, dude, you have to see In the Name of the Father.
Oh
my God, it is so good.
So
Okay, continue.
My
on what
trivia
you got.
doesn't matter
all right.
because
so
it's like,
well done.
Yes,
there you go. Yeah,
thank
all
you.
three are
My
right.
trivia, like about the movies, like he was nominated for. Truly, My Left Foot and In the Name of the Father are two of those movies. I'm like, I need to see these at some point. At least, like, yeah, it's one of those like I have to at some point. I think so. Yeah, I'll get around to it.
In the Name of My Left Foot, yes,
sure.
Although Brenda Blethyn, I think it is, and she's who won the Oscar for supporting actress that year for My Left Foot. That's really why to see it. Like, she's outstanding in that.
Yeah.
But my God, In the Name of the Father is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. I get it. Eventually. You'll know this, but whatever. For the viewer or listener, we watched Jimon Hunsu in a film covered on the podcast already, 2000's Gladiator. His career started with a few roles in early 1990s music videos for Tina Turner, In Vogue, and Janet Jackson. Yet he had his breakout performance in what 1997 Spielberg film?
Amistad.
Yeah.
I recently watched that, actually.
I haven't seen it in probably 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, like, I did. It's a Spielberg film. It's not going to be bad. Yeah. He's really good in that too, though.
Yeah, it's one of those I want to watch again because I feel like he's got to be good, but other performances like McConaughey, Hopkins, others, really? Music, I remember like Williams' score is good.
That score's so good.
Yep.
There you go. All right. So the film features a brief appearance, and it's not super brief, but like just And I noticed him right away because my disease is this. If the film features a brief appearance by John Salke as Tony, and if you'll remember, he's the guy early on with a bike tire when the addict is walking him up the stairs, and he's like Tony, and he's got that bike tire or whatever. And then later he also comes down and helps the girls when Mateo after he faints. Okay, we have covered a film featuring him before. I'm going to show you a picture of him just to give you a feeling.
He's like a red-headed ginger kind
What's
of guy.
this guy? Yeah, that guy.
Yes. He doesn't look that good now, but yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, that's what he is now. We've covered him before as an Amnesty International call center employee in what?
Oh my God.
There it is. I gave you the hint.
Oh, that's so good.
2002 film.
Oh my God. About a Boy.
Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm like, why have I seen that guy? Dude. It's the guy from About a Boy.
Yes. That is really good.
I know.
That's a good.
It's on my notes. I didn't bring my notebook with me. I was like,
good
that's the
call
dude from
back. That's totally right. I'm like, where have I seen that dude?
I know.
Like, yep.
I didn't even write down his name. I was just like, he's the Amnesty International guy from About a Boy.
Oh my God. That's good trivia. I like that.
This might be one of our best one, like,
1-2 punches.
Movie of, like, combination of the two.
Yep.
Because we loved Master Commander so much, but then to go into this, it was a great night. And the beer was good. Yeah.
Well, great night, but also somewhat why we do this.
Yeah.
Great as we are, is from any listener partaking. These are movies that aren't on the radar.
No, I like that we do some that are total
like,
box
well-earned,
office,
huge
whatever,
ones.
and then other ones that we randomly at this time because we were super cinema guys or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anyone outside of you who's seen In America.
No one at all.
Yeah. So
Please-
everyone on here, go see it and
please
let us
watch
know
it.
you watch it.
It's so good.
Yes.
So good.
As we've discussed before, I'm right when it comes to recommending
get
these
one.
movies.
You get one.
I've had a few. I have the recordings.
I play them every now and then.
Oh, it is absolutely what I go to sleep with every night. Yeah, absolutely.
Steve's right.
You're right.
Okay.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of our happy hour episode on In America. Make sure to go back and listen to our recent episodes on your favorite streaming platforms. Watch out for upcoming Christmas episodes on Elf and Love Actually. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen and for clicking that like or subscribe button on your devices. If you are so inclined, please click the support link in the show's description or on all of our sites and consider supporting us in other ways. The metaverse of Facebook, Instagram, and friends is where we live, as well as 20years4beers.com. This has been 20 Years, 4 Beers. My name is Steve.
I'm Tim.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
As we've discussed before, I'm right.
Freaking sucker punch.
Yes.
Then what am I doing here?
I'm ready to go action. Basically creamed all over.
Hard pass.